What's going on, y'all? It's Athletes Coach again, coming at you with another video. So Manny Pacquiao, now former WBA super welterweight champion, is no longer. The WBA today came out and stripped Manny Pacquiao of the WBA title due to inactivity. And, you know, as we all know, Manny Pacquiao hasn't fought since his last fight back in 2019 when he took on Keith Thurman, in which he beat Keith Thurman for the WBA super title. And as the rules stipulate, you know, you have to defend that title within a given time period. That time period is missing me from my head right now. And it's unfortunate, you know, that that's happened, but I don't think it's necessarily unfortunate for Manny Pacquiao. I want to say it's unfortunate for the likes of Terrence Crawford. You know, fighters like him that are over at top rank, you know, and there's only one type of fighter of his caliber, and that's himself. You know, this is going to make it harder for him at the negotiation tables if he wants to get a chance at the likes of Errol Spence or even a Sean Porter for that matter, because they're going to look at it like, what is your resume? What do you have? The reason why I say that is Yordenis Ugas, who has now been elevated from the WBA regular champion to the super champion after Manny Pacquiao got stripped, he's over at the PBC. That gives another belt on over at Premier Boxing Championship, which shows that Al Heyman, as the advisor of many of those fighters, now has more negotiating tactics that he can give out to his fighters to compete against Bob Arum, saying like, look, I can set up fights with you with Ugas, who's a super champion. You know, Errol, you could get that belt. Sean Porter, you can get that belt. You know, heck, Danny Garcia, you could run it back with another welterweight. Hopefully you could try to get a belt there. You know, so there's all the top welterweights are over at the PBC. And there's only one top welterweight that happens to not be there, and that is Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford has got to come on over to the PBC. He just has to cut his losses with Bob Arum, who basically came out in public and said that, you know, Terrence Crawford is costing him money, that he's not worth as much as what he's costing him. So if you've gotten that type of news, you know, somebody's telling you that, why not just cut ties, bet on yourself, and come on over to the PBC? Now, I've been told, like, you know, how the PBC's makeup, how it usually works. As I said a few seconds ago, Al Heyman is not a promoter for any of those fighters. He's an advisor. So him being an advisor, he doesn't get the promoters kind of cut a check. The fighters have to promote their own fight. What he does is he advises them during the negotiation, you know, on what leverage they do have or what avenues they can take. And as part of them being, you know, fighting with the PBC or fighting under Fox banner, you know, they get a monthly stipend, you know, to keep them afloat until their next fight. They don't have a set schedule on when they're going to fight. Now, when you're working over at Top Rank at ESPN, there's a set schedule for you. You know, you're getting constant money. You know, it's that security. So the difference, to put it in layman's term, is when you're fighting at the PBC, you're an entrepreneur. You're your own man. Whereas if you're fighting over at Top Rank, you're an employee. You know, you get a constant check. You know, they're taking care of you. You know, are you going to get the big time deals that you could most likely get? Answer is no. There's nobody really over there, as opposed to the PBC, where there's a lot of room to grow, but it's going to be off of your work ethic on how you promote the fight. And that's what it basically is. This is why a lot of those fighters at the PBC have this mantra where they think they're businessmen, or at least they try to follow that Floyd pattern, his footsteps, because that is how Floyd, you know, was able to elevate himself to the money status that he is today. But this whole video, you know, Yordenis Ugas, congratulations to you. I mean, what a great way to become a champion without having to throw a punch. That's a great way, you know, and it actually is something that you can add to your resume and even demand even higher purse bids for fights and stuff. So kudos to you, Yordenis Ugas. Now, as for Manny Pacquiao, chances are, I think, you know, he didn't post anything I haven't seen as of late. I haven't gone on his Instagram page or anything. I haven't seen him post anything about the Ryan Garcia fight. Who knows if that gets made? Honestly, I think Manny Pacquiao is at the point of his career where he's looking for something more monumental. So him taking on, let's say, a Conor McGregor, that's definitely where he will take something more serious. But after Conor McGregor's most recent loss, and I think Conor wants to try to get more focus back in the UFC, I don't know how that can necessarily pan out and if people really want to see that. So Manny Pacquiao, he doesn't really want to take on the likes of an Errol Spence or even fight a Terrence Crawford or anybody of that caliber, that really isn't something that Manny Pacquiao at his age really wants to take, you know. Those are very high risk, low reward fights. If you really were to ask me, that's not something that I would advise Manny to go down the path of taking. However, entertaining, you know, Conor McGregor fight is great. Hopefully, if he could try to lure Floyd back out of retirement, which has been his always plan, he would definitely want to jump into something like that. Fighting Ryan Garcia again. Now, that's probably even more suitable or more likely to happen than him fighting an Errol Spence or Terrence Crawford, because of the fact that, A, there's not really much risk involved if he were to fight a Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia, I think, will be stepping up in weight, fighting him at 140 or somewhere between 140 and 143 or 145, you know, somewhere around there. So he'll be stepping up to fight Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao is, even still at this point, is still a more skilled fighter than Ryan Garcia. So right there, chances are Manny Pacquiao can even still win that fight and still show that he got it and just something that he can add. The only person who's taking a big risk in that aspect will be like a Ryan Garcia. And really, there's really not much risk involved, because if Ryan Garcia were to lose to Manny Pacquiao, nobody would really be upset with him about it. It'll be almost like how Mikey Garcia stepped up to fight Errol Spence. Nobody really took anything against Mikey Garcia for it. Now, was that stupid on Mikey Garcia's part? I believe so. He could have took on the likes of like, Lomachenko. I think that would have been much better. Not only the money, but taking the chance and getting the recognition and go out of his career as beating one of the top lightweights in the world. So that's just, you know, it's all opinion, but, you know, all said and done, kudos to the Cuban, Yordenis Ugas. I would definitely like to see him, you know, have a fight against Errol Spence. You know, Errol Spence came out today tweeting, you know, it's strap season. So he's looking like, all right, the PBC got another champion. That's enough, you know, another free meal that he can go ahead and get, you know, and ride out into the sunset and just unify all the titles at 147. So before he steps up to fight a mega fight with maybe Canelo at 160. So who knows? Right now, it's looking bad, you know, on over for the top-ranked fighter, Terrence Crawford. Right now, PBC is booming. He's got to cross the street. He's got to come on over. He's got to bet on himself if he wants to be great. Time is only ticking, and on top of that, he's older than the likes of an Errol Spence. But I want to hear what y'all have to say. Like, comment, subscribe down below. I'm out.